Hey guys, today we are doing my TBR, my to be read list for April 2022. So this is going to include one book from my March TBR that I didn't quite get to, as well as 8 other books that I want to pick up in April. Some things here that you will be expecting, some things you might not be expecting. So let's jump in with that hangover from last month. So this is Turning Darkness into Light by Marie Brennan. This is the follow-up novel to the Memoirs of Lady Trent, which I really loved. So the Memoirs of Lady Trent is a 5-book series. This is a follow-up following not Isabella Camhurst, not Lady Trent herself, but her granddaughter. So it's set quite a few years after the events of the Memoirs of Lady Trent. Is something that I'm really excited to get to. I understand that it's told in a slightly mixed media kind of way, which is why I have the physical book, even though I was listening to the Memoirs of Lady Trent on audio. I've picked the physical up because I've heard that it's a little bit easier to read in this form. So this is one thing I want to get to this month. That is a hangover from March. So first up on the series I'm continuing is going to be my reread of the Dresden Files. I am on to book 11, which is Turncoat. I really love Turncoat. It is one of my favourite Dresden Files books. I think it is highly underrated from the community, and therefore I'm really excited to get back into it. It is such a fun story. We are really getting to the meat of the Dresden Files here, and I'm really excited to reread this again. As well as that, I have another book by Jim Butcher, and this one is the final book, book 6 in the Codex Alera series, the final book, First Lord's Fury. I have absolutely adored Codex Alera so far. This is a Roman Legion cross Pokemon style fantasy series that has just gone from strength to strength through the books. Furies of Calderon I really enjoyed. I didn't pick up the sequel for a little while, but I have burnt through from books 2 to books 5 really fast. Really love them a lot. I think they're very high quality. And if it wasn't for how much I love the Dresden Files, then I would probably talk about this even more. But Jim Butcher has outdone himself with the Dresden Files to an extent that I can't even adequately explain how much I love Codex Alera, because it is always going to be overshadowed by the Dresden Files. But I am picking up book 6, I am picking up the finale, and I hope that it finishes off the series as well as the rest of the books have built up. From the end of book 4, I think there's been some awesome reveals, some awesome events that have happened that have been built up for books and books and books, and I love the way Jim is going with this, and I really hope that I love this finale and this conclusion as much as I've loved the previous books in this series. Another series I'm going to be continuing is going to be the Icewind Dale trilogy by R.A. Salvatore. I enjoyed the Dark Elf trilogy, the first trilogy that involves Drizzt chronologically. This Icewind Dale trilogy so far, I didn't love book 1, book 2 was an improvement. I'm really looking forward to picking up book 3, The Halfling's Gem, and I hope that it continues to improve. I can hope that it continues to get better and better, because I really didn't love the first book, and I hope that I can continue these Drizzt books, enjoying them, knowing that R.S. Salvatore is doing a good job improving as we go. And then the final book that is a continuation of a series I'm reading here in April is the third and final book in the Licanius trilogy. Now, I've put off book 3, The Light of All That Falls, for far too long. I did read The Shadow of What Was Lost and An Echo of Things to Come pretty much back to back. I really enjoyed them. I did enjoy A Shadow of Things to Come more, mainly because of the flashback sequences in An Echo of Things to Come that I think bogged down the story, especially pacing wise. But I am really excited to pick up The Light of All That Falls. Now, just to give you a clue, this is a chonker. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, this might take up a lot of my reading time this month because it is a thick book. If I scroll through to the back, we're looking at 800, just over 800 pages. Just over 800 pages, and it feels massive. But there we go. I'm really excited to pick that up. I'm hoping I've not forgotten too much, because I did really enjoy the setup, the very twisty setup that we had from books 1 and books 2. I'm hoping that I still remember pretty well what's happening in An Echo of Things to Come, and enough to enjoy The Light of All That Falls, which I have been putting off for far too long. So they are the series that I am continuing. They will probably be the highest priority in terms of my reads this month, because I really want to get through some of these series. A lot of those are actually finishing off series, which is a big deal for me. Love to get Codex Alera finished, love to get the Licanius trilogy finished, would like to get the Icewind Dale trilogy finished as well. Tick some of those off, give my final thoughts, give some concluding opinions on those once I've got through the whole arc and I've seen everything that the author has to give us in those series. These next set of books are either standalones or they are books that are going to be starting new series for me. So these are some series that I've been putting off for a little while. These are some of the series that were on my 5 fantasy series I will read in 2022 list. But we're going to start off with the standalones. The first of those is When We Were Orphans. This is an author who I have currently read one book from. I read Clara and the Sun, and it was fine. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. It had interesting moments. It was written very well, but it didn't really grip me. It didn't grip me like I expected it to. But I am absolutely prepared to give Ishiguro another chance, and I'm going to do that with When We Were Orphans. I don't know much about it. I picked up on Audible. It seemed interesting. I'm going to give it a read and see how I feel. Now, if I really am as meh on this as I was with Clara and the Sun, that might just mean that this author's not for me, and that's fine, but hopefully I will enjoy it a little bit more. The other standalone I'm going to be reading in April is this one here, and this is 36 Streets by T.R. Napper. This is a cyberpunk novel. It is based in Hanoi, in Vietnam, in a sort of alternate future. I am really interested to read it. I've not read any cyberpunk really before. This is something that I've seen on Angela over at Literature Science Alliance's channel when she was doing sort of a wrap-up of new releases and what other booktubers have thought about them. This sounded very interesting to me. I've been wanting to read some cyberpunk fiction for a little while, and I'm really excited to jump into 36 Streets by T.R. Napper. It should be a bit of a shorter read. I think it's about 400 pages, just under, so there'd be an easier, quicker read than something like The Light of All That Falls. And then we move on to 2 first books in series that I would love to get to. Now, these might get pushed back into May, depending on how my reading month goes. I've got a lot on in this TBR list, and there's a lot more here than I'm probably going to get through. But I really want to start these series soon because they are series that I've been excited for a little while. Now, the first of those is one that I get recommended all the time. I hear talked about all the time. I know people who absolutely love it, including my sister-in-law who loves this series. And this is going to be the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Now, Jemisin is a really interesting author. I've only read Emergency Skin, which is a short story from N.K. Jemisin. I know that people absolutely swear by her writing. This series, this trilogy, won the Hugo Award 3 years in a row. That is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm really excited to jump into the 5th season. I've heard it's very grim, it's very dark, it's very almost depressing, but I'm really excited to see what N.K. Jemisin is going to do with it. And then the last book on this TBR, this is another start to a series, and this is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is an Asian-inspired urban fantasy that I've heard so much about. The final book in the Greenbone Saga trilogy came out at the end of last year. That's Jade Legacy. So if I really, really love Jade City, I could go on a proper binge, do Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy. I don't know if I'm going to love it as much as everyone else seems to. I have heard a few negative thoughts on it, so we'll see where it lands. For me, urban fantasy is a bit hit or miss. And actually, I wouldn't even describe this as urban fantasy. I know lots of people do. But for me, if it's not set in our world, I wouldn't really class it as urban fantasy. It's still secondary world fantasy as far as I am concerned. But I do hope that I really love this. I hope that I love Fonda Lee's writing because I want to be involved in this conversation. But we'll see how we go, hopefully in April, with Jade City. Let me know down below, what is your absolute must read for April? What is your priority read that you are super, super excited to get to? And if you want to see any more of my content, there should be another video up here waiting for you right now. See you guys again soon.